I'll probably have to block him on all social media avenues. Like if I see a picture of a new girlfriend, I'll probably lose my mind. But it's also, I know in my heart that, he's not my human. He's not my other half.
You can't have it all, Katie. I'm Andrea Gunning.
And I'm Ben Fetterman.
And you're listening to Dating Diaries, Questions and Confessions. This week, we hear from a season 1 favorite, Kate.
Throwback.
But before we get to her story, Ben, I have a question for you.
Shoot.
How long does it take you to get ready to go out with your wife, Jen, on date night?
Including shower?
Yeah, including shower.
Let's say 18, 19 if I'm putting socks on.
Do you have context of how long it takes for us women to get ready before date night?
Well, that could be a trick question, but I will say I know a lot more now than I did before the relationship I'm currently in.
Well, for me, I know when I'm trying to make an effort, I'm washing my hair, I want to smell good. If I think that there's going to be intimacy, I'm shaving my legs. It's all about effort, which is why our first story from our friend of the show, Kate, just made me nuts.
This is Kate. You may remember me from season 1 where I got ghosted. I'm back with more tragic dating stories.
I'm bummed for Kate, but always love to hear from her. This ought to be a good one.
Being rejected 3 times in a row really made me want to take a break from it all. So got back on the dating apps. I've been talking to my friends, talking to my therapist, and they're like, all right, you got to expand your perimeters of who you're looking at.
Worth a try, right? Kate's in her late 20s, but extended her matches to late 30s.
And then I extended the location a little bit. I think it was maybe 20 or 30 miles.
And despite that, she actually matched with a guy in her neighborhood pretty quickly.
I meet this one guy. He's 37, which is older than I've ever dated. And he kind of looked like someone I would be into. He had a really nice smile. He looked put together. He messaged me right away. We start chatting. He has a dog. I have a dog. He suggested dog park date. And I was like, okay, awesome. Would love to go to the dog park with you. It's an easy out. If this is terrible, it's not drinks or anything. It's not dinner. So there's very low commitment.
Like so many of us, Kate is still working at home. It's a bit of a thrill to have a reason to get dressed and put something together.
I put on jeans. I shower, wash my hair, put on makeup for the first time in forever. I'm feeling very cute, get to the dog park. I'm waiting for him to show up and I see someone walking towards me that looks like this guy. But I just was so shocked because I don't want to be mean. I think everyone's had a rough 2020, rough pandemic. But he was about 30 pounds heavier than his pictures.
It's not called the Quarantine 15 for nothing. Or in this case, the 30. But that wasn't the biggest issue.
His hair had grown out. It looked like he used straight olive oil to style it. I thought he was auditioning for an emo boy band. It's bro, don't do that. And he was wearing cut off sweat shorts and a dirty sweatshirt. And I just was okay, I'm glad other people are around because this guy might abduct me.
But Kate took a breath and thought about all the ways COVID and quarantine has impacted people.
I was just I'm going to give this guy the benefit of the doubt, but we just did not vibe. I stayed at the dog park for an hour, which I'm never at the dog park for an hour. It was painful, pulling teeth to talk to him.
But she was trying to be polite. They parted ways, and Kate hoped that her date felt the same way. There was no love connection here. But then, a few days later, a text popped up.
He basically says, I had a really great time yesterday. You seem like a really awesome person. Do you want to get drinks tonight or sometime this weekend?
Damn. Now she had to deal with it. Ignoring the text was out of the question. They live in the same neighborhood and were bound to see each other at the dog park or on the street. Besides, Kate wanted to be mature about it, so she was thoughtful about the response.
I really appreciate the invite, but I just don't see this relationship going further than friendship. And he responds back with, wow, that's so fucking rude. You didn't even give me the time of day. You only gave me 15 minutes at a dog park. How can you even get to know someone that quickly? You're not even gonna get a drink with me? Wow, like how fucking rude is that?
Wait, what?
I wasn't gonna like dignify that response with a response. It was inappropriate to call me rude. Like, it's not my job to validate insecure men. That's just not my job. I don't need that kind of toxic masculinity in my life. We had been on one date.
But Kate was pissed.
Bruh, I gave you an hour at the dog park. This person showed up who did not look like the person that I had swiped right on. Was just an immediate turnoff. And then you showed up in dirty clothes. That's a big red flag. And then it was, I'm concerned you don't own shampoo. And then I'm also like concerned you might not have clean clothes.
And of course, Kate saw him again, but he wasn't so bold in person.
I did see him at the dog park, and I think he was so embarrassed he like ran away from me. I'm really hoping I can come back on the show with like a really happy ending story. So fingers crossed for me. I am hopeful.
And Kate, we're not giving up. You will meet someone, and we'll be here for that love story.
I'm gonna get on the show as like people are like, oh, we're rooting for her and that guy. Who knows who it'll be? You can't hit me up on Hinge though, because I'm blocked. So, like...
What's difficult about this is that the quarantine 15 is real. It's hit me. I'm definitely out of shape. But I'm mindful of the pictures that I put online of myself. Look, I may have a bikini pic that probably look a little bit different now, but I've had conversations with guys in this pandemic where it's like, yeah, I'm definitely not as in shape as I used to be. And it's like an open conversation. I framed it in a sense of like my lifestyle, my health. A lot of it, it's been a struggle recently. And it opened up the dialogue to have that conversation. Look, we're all going through it. I'm going through it too.
There's a superficial nature to dating profiles. You see a picture, that's your expectation. And if you see something different than your expectation, that's going to be a turnoff. We heard it from Kate off the bat.
Kate was really fucking harsh. The issue is that this guy put on like 30 pounds. The minute she saw him, she shut down. She saw a slob and shut down. And I'm curious, could she have gotten over the whole weight thing if he wasn't such a slob? He was a crumb bum. Like, he basically rolled out of bed, had like his pajamas, hadn't washed his hair. Show that you've made a little bit of effort, because she made an effort. And now let me just say, we're living in a time where sweatpants suits are back. Okay? He could have worn a really cute jogger situation.
First impressions are key.
Yeah.
I do think there's a world where showing up in a sweatshirt and some nice shorts to a dog park date is appropriate.
Yes.
I fear, just from Kate's standpoint, that she got caught up in the weight. Like, she just saw the guy, and as you said, she just shut down, and then he could do no right.
Yeah.
And like, she gave him an hour. He felt like he had 15 minutes. They had nothing to talk. I mean, there's a lot there within the story that's just like, I think the first impression just totally soured the whole opportunity.
I still don't think he did enough to merit a second. Like, I don't think he did enough to merit a generous assumption from her, because he was a dirtball.
I don't even know if dirtball is right.
It sounds like a dirtball. She said it was greasy.
He didn't show up as his best self, regardless of what we're talking about, weight, clothes. Like, it just wasn't his best presentation. And from what I heard, it doesn't sound like another date was warranted. But I do want to get to the aftermath of the date. Right.
The aftermath is what's important.
I think Kate's message to him, what we talk about this, clear as kind, it sounded very clear. I commend her for her messaging to him to just say, hey, it was really great to meet you. I don't see this relationship becoming anything more than friends. Like, would love to stay in touch. That felt genuine. It felt nice. His response, less than ideal.
I thought it was so ridiculous that he had the balls to say that she didn't even give him a chance when he could barely make an effort to fucking shower. He's like, you basically wrote me off. And it's like, well, what did you do, bro, to show up as your best self. Maybe this is what he needs as a firm, like, swift kick in the ass to get his shit together.
I don't think it was an appropriate response. I do think he put it all on Kate, which isn't fair.
No.
I would challenge Kate to respond back, to help with that process of looking at himself.
It's not her responsibility to teach this guy anything. It's not her responsibility to make this guy comfortable with her not being interested. If I were in her shoes, if I'm going to see him at the dog park, Andrea is probably going to do something similar to what you recommend, Ben, which is responding and saying, I'm really sorry you felt that way. It wasn't my intention. I just didn't feel a connection, and take that high road. And while that may be hurtful to hear, if you're going to talk about being helpful, maybe he's like, I didn't put my best foot forward on this date. Or if he's like, screw this is how I want to live my life, he's going to eventually have to find someone that's okay with a little bit of being a greaseball. There's an ass for every seat, like I always say. Katie is a great mixture of zen and go get 'em.
I'm a yoga instructor from New York. I've been teaching for about a year now. I'm trying to start my own business. I teach English at night, yoga by day, and I also run an adventure company. So I'm totally just burning the candle on all ends.
When we talked about dating, there was still some residual heartache from an ex-boyfriend.
So my first crash and burn relationship, which I'm admittedly still not really over yet, I really love this guy. Like, I gave him everything. I jumped in full force. I moved in with him kind of without even asking. I just kind of moved all my stuff in. We went to Paris together. We met online, met on Tinder. And it was just one of those, like, we knew instantly we had this great connection. And he was a lawyer, so he had a really good job. And he treated me really well in the beginning.
This is starting to sound a little ominous.
But then it was just in his mind, I wasn't bringing enough to the table because my job wasn't up to par to his job. And it was so heavy on my heart. He just kind of backed away from the relationship and just gave up entirely. And I was going through a lot because I lost the job that I had, and the little income I did have, now I had nothing.
But Katie did bring a lot to the table. She's an adventurer, a yoga teacher. She's curious and centered.
But looking back on it, I totally lost my identity in that relationship. So when he backed away from me giving everything I had, what I thought I had, it crushed me. At that time, I was working for a country club, and I loved the job. I was their marketing coordinator / receptionist. I worked my way up, and, I was just making an hourly salary. I had no health insurance and things like that. And he was the vice president of his father's company. So he was really doing well for himself. And we came from such different worlds.
Hard work and loving your job is so important. Nothing but respect, girl.
So I don't know even if I'm right or wrong on not feeling good enough, but he never made me feel good enough. When we'd say I love you, he'd give a half smile, you sure? It was wow, heartbreaking. So my little sister actually was the one who encouraged me to move forward. And she goes, Katie, just rip off the Band-Aid.
The sister always gives it to you straight.
So I did. I met him on his lunch break, and I said I was moving out, and I left.
And now she's back living at home with her family. It's a great living situation with a lot of privacy and space to launch her business.
I couldn't ask for more, because becoming established as an independent yoga instructor is a lot of work.
And as for dating and love?
I was single for a year, and then I met I call him my partner. I don't know what to really call him because we technically broke up because of me, because I want to see the world. Essentially, I want to go places and teach yoga, teach English, and travel and be a nomad. And I'm not really ready to settle down like my partner is and what he wants, I guess, because he's got the great job. He's an engineer. He's ready for somebody to have babies with and have that American dream. Now I'm in this position where I have someone who loves me, but I can't see myself spending the rest of my life with him.
So Katie is headed to Mexico for a yoga retreat. She'll be there for a month. And the understanding with her quote-unquote partner? Well, he's free to couple up with whomever he chooses. And if that's the case, is he really her partner?
I call him my partner when we're around people and stuff. That's how I refer to him. it's really tough because he lives close by. He's my best friend. He's the only person I have in this area to do pretty much anything with. And I introduced him into this huge life of adventure. So mountain biking and rock climbing and camping and backpacking. So like we were dating, he bought all the gear. He got all the things for both of us. And now he loves it. You know, while I'm away and he moves on, I've given him that permission by breaking up with him, kind of in a sense. And it'll suck. I'm going to be completely crushed. I'll probably have to block him on all social media avenues. Like if I see a picture of a new girlfriend, I'll probably lose my mind. But it's also, I know in my heart that he's not my human. He's not my other half.
Which kind of begs the question, why would you lose your mind over someone that you don't love?
Everything is always fine, you know? There's a few red flags in his life that I've brought up to his attention, which I've mentioned is why I don't want to be with him forever. Mainly his temper. I'm the most unconfrontational person I'll probably ever meet. But, there's a few red flags, and then our families just have really big differences. Like he's really stable financially, and I'm still paying off my college loans and getting out of debt myself.
The temper, definitely a red flag. But I wouldn't put financially stable in the con column.
But I'm just in this independent woman entrepreneur mindset. He'll take my yoga class and be like, oh, great job. But couldn't care less what I'm doing. And so that's the challenge. And to me, a partner should be supportive, but in a supportive way where they're not just telling you a good job. I think support is a lot more than that, especially now with social media. It's sharing my story and sharing my success. I'd be like, hey, check out what my partner's doing. Check out this really cool thing. He's never once contributed to my adventure page. I've had this now for almost 2 years. And I think he's posted maybe once, maybe twice. It's just you have the opportunity to really support me.
Yeah, we're gonna have to talk about that one, Katie.
I've told him that I don't see myself, spending the rest of my life with him. And he said he felt like he was going to spend the rest of his life with me. So it was a really tough conversation to have. And now that we're still acting the same as we always had been, it's really, really weird.
So they're best friends and maybe a bit dependent on each other. But could there be love there?
We talk every day. We text every day. We when he's not working, we hang out and go hiking and do stuff together. And, so I already tried to, we broke up hard. We broke up. We spent months without talking. And then randomly just was like, hey, I have no one to hike with. Do you want to go hike? And we were like, okay. So just started hiking again and hanging out again.
They keep walking the line. Katie seems to be in it for the companionship. For now, anyway.
I don't know. It's we were never really overly physical in our relationship. And now it's maybe we'll hook up if we're cuddling or something. But it's not overwhelmingly passionate because that was a big part of my ex, we couldn't keep off of each other. And I loved it. It was so exciting. And now it's just I don't even think about being physical with him. I'm a person of passion. I really believe in pursuing your passions. And, my partner has zero passion. He's just not excited about anything in life. When we adventure, he pushes himself to adventure better and harder and have a better performance and hike faster. And it's always a competition with himself. And there's just no passion and there's no joy. I just don't think our life philosophies line up.
I really like Katie. I love that she's trying to find herself and she has to focus on the things that matter. I'm super pumped. She's going to Oaxaca, Mexico, where I did missionary work, so we had a lot in common. I really respect her heart and her spirit. It's going to be hard not to be very tough on her because I call bullshit on a lot of the shit that she was saying.
Yeah.
It seems very inconsistent to me because it just doesn't seem like she's over her ex-boyfriend. Now she's with someone, her current quote-unquote partner, and she's making all of these excuses to justify why he is not her person.
Doesn't love him, not physically attracted to him, but he keeps clawing back. It feels like he at some point is going to convince her that she is in love with him.
It's okay to not be in love with somebody, but it's just let him go. But it seems like he is the only friend in her area, and I understand. It can be really lonely. She moved back home. There aren't a lot of people. When I moved back home after college, I had 2 people in my hometown that I could go and get coffee with. I get it. But you can't have your cake and eat it too. I don't even get the sense that they're physical, really.
She said that. I mean, if we're going to talk about red flags, it sounds like they have no interest in being physical with one another.
I just think it's the classic case of she's just not that into him.
He's a security blanket while she's figuring out what she wants next.
How is that not using somebody? I find that kind of selfish. Before this guy, she was in a relationship where she was madly in love with someone she changed for, did everything for, and he didn't acknowledge anything that she was doing as worthy or as legitimate, and she still managed to love him. Now she's with someone who is not her person because he doesn't post on her Facebook group. Like, I'm not trying to oversimplify it because I know that she loves him as a human being, but she's definitely not in love with him, and that's unfair to him. I honestly do think that there's some worth issues that she hasn't reconciled from her last relationship. I mean, I think there's some insecurities that she's brought in that she needs to work on. You know, she kept saying, like, I am hyper-focused on me. I'm hyper-focused on me. She has a lot of incredible goals, and it's going to require a lot of her attention. And she knows that she only has so much of herself to give while she's doing that. So I just think like the one person that Katie needs to be focused on right now is Katie, because no one is going to be her person until she feels aligned with herself. And until she feels good about herself, no partner's going to be right. You know, think about how many people we've heard from that once they've set themselves free from a situation, how much growth and opportunity comes their way. A broken heart is hard to recover from, and it can take a really long time. Thanks to Kate and Katie for sharing their stories.
If you like this week's episode, please give us a 5-star rating and review us on Apple, Spotify, Amazon Music, or wherever you listen. And follow us on social at Dating Diaries QC. That's Dating Diaries QC.
All right, stay safe out there, guys. This podcast is hosted and executive produced by me, Andrea Gunning. Executive produced by Nancy Glass, Ben Fetterman, and Carrie Hartman. Produced by Julie Clark. Associate producers include Megan Paisley and Kristen Melchiori. Edited by Mac Daggett and Matt Delvecchio. Special thanks to Natalie Thomas. Music by Mybe Music. Some names have been changed to protect privacy.